What's up, y'all? Corwin L. Gilliams here, coming at you with another video. As you can see, the landscape is a bit different. I wanted to engage in a environment that reflects more of where I'm at in life, as far as peace and appreciating the hand of God and nature and stuff like that. And so, part of this new year, 2026 outlook is seeing how I can pivot and create content that I feel is more true to who I am and what I believe is to be and will be more impactful in terms of my influence and what it is that I'm trying to do as far as inspiring people to become the best version of themselves. And so go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to support the platform. I'm a lifestyle influencer and content creator. I create content revolved around self-love because I believe this is my personal belief, okay? And I'm gonna define self-love because I want us to all be on the same page. So sometimes when you talk about self-love, people take on a narcissistic interpretation of it. In other words, they feel like when you are pursuing love for self, that you don't care about anyone else, and that is far from the truth. Love is first of all, love is the foundation of every good thing that exists. And the more you understand the importance of loving self, excuse my nose and my lips, I didn't put no chapstick or nothing on or whatever because, you know, I shit, yeah, I get it. So, anyways, love is the foundation of everything that is good. Everything that is good comes from God. And so, unfortunately, many of us have lost the meaning of love and we've been subscribing to perverted definitions of love, loyalty, and mercy. And as a result, we've allowed ourselves to be in situations that has caused us to be abused and manipulated. And as human beings, we reflect our experiences. So the experience of projecting, how people say, oh, you're projecting, right? Most times it's true because we are the sum of our experiences. And so when you are pointing the finger at someone, when you are ready and quickly able to identify the imperfections in a person, it's oftentimes the imperfections that you see in yourself. It's a mirror image. And so what differentiates someone who is projecting as opposed to someone who recognizes and discerns qualities that they can choose and say, okay, this person is abusive and manipulative. I don't want to be a part of that. But I'm not going to treat them in any way that makes them feel inferior or less than. So I want you to think of Judas Iscariot, right? When Jesus chose his disciples, right? Jesus manifested the life of a human being who has fully accepted their God-given identity, right? So when Jesus was able to pick his circle and he said, I choose all of you, but one of you is a devil, he did not let Judas know that he saw Judas for who he was, right? In the culture, we say, I see you, right? We see each other. So Jesus saw Judas for who he was, but Judas didn't even know who he was as far as the evils that was within him that caused him to betray someone that he should have never betrayed. And this is what happens in life when people take advantage of your goodness, of your generosity. They think because you don't pinpoint their foolishness and wickedness that you're naive. And that is far from the truth as a child of God, because when you've been given the Spirit, Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, the devil cannot pull a wool over your eyes, okay? And what happens is that oftentimes, as they say, you give people a rope to hang themselves, and they end up hanging themselves in the case of Judas Iscariot. And so what happens is that when you are able to discern the behaviors of people and you begin to move accordingly, you'll find that they'll have a problem with you because they are so used to getting their way. They're so used to being manipulative, oppressive, and abusive that when they come into existence or come in the presence of someone who knows who they are, who has a solid grasp on their identity, that God loves them, that they were made in the image and likeness of love, that no weapon formed against them shall prosper, that all good things come to those who love God and are called according to their perfect promises, you'll find that even until death, even if the plot and the scheme is to kill you, as in the case of Judas Iscariot, his decision to betray Jesus ultimately caused the life of Jesus to be destroyed. Nevertheless, it was part of God's plans, okay? So I say that to say it doesn't take away from the evils of what Judas did, because wickedness is wickedness. And you'll find that people in your life, when they do things, they think in a moment that they're getting away with it. But soon they find out that that is not the case. In truth, sometimes they find out that even now, they may not find out, but you see that they're in the situation that they're in right now because of their wickedness, because of their evils, because of their decisions to go the wrong way. And you can see it. God will show it to you. And so I believe Jesus saw the dysfunction of Judas. He saw that Judas was ultimately destined for the damnation and condemnation, right? Because when people, and I want you to correlate this with your life. This is why you shouldn't get mad to the point where you give up your life and the promises of God when people betray you. But in fact, or in truth, you should rejoice and be glorified that God has chosen you as that vessel to experience such level of darkness, because God knows that you will overcome. And once again, you've shown to the principalities and the evil forces in the heavenly realms that Christ still reigns, okay? Christ still reigns. And that the Christ in you is the hope of glory, okay? And that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So I say all of that to say that I am going to be creating more content still is going to be revolved around your identity as a man of God, right? As a man who's desiring to fulfill God's plans for his life, whatever that may be. And even if you're a woman watching this, you can be intelligent enough to be able to critically think and apply the principles and the knowledge to your personal life as a woman. But foundationally, this platform is for men, because we live in a society that has a lot of broken men, young, old, and they need wisdom, they need inspiration, they need leadership. And this is the vision that God has given me. So as I've been cultivating this brand for the past how many much years, in 2026, I'm becoming more specialized as far as who I want to be talking to, who I want to talk to, right? And so they say the foundation, or should I say, the beginning of greatness starts as a child, okay? And so what the enemy does, because he understands spiritual law, and a lot of people who work in the realms of spiritual darkness, they understand the psychology of the mind and the human experience, and they use it for their advantage. One of the things that we should all know as human beings is that children are highly impressionable, okay? And that if you really want to begin to really be embed, and influence and impact a human being, it starts as a child, right? And so I hope you all see that beautiful view of the mountains behind me here. So beautiful. It's just, again, a testament of God's design capacity and his ability to, create amazing things, right? And so if children are the future, as they say, right? I believe the children are future. Shout out to Whitney, man. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride. Okay, y'all know the rest of the word. Y'all know the rest of the song, right? And so that is true. And so part of my platform and influence is to help single mothers, okay? Because I grew up with a single parent, a single mother, and God bless her, she did her best to raise me as a man, or what you think a man, or what you thought a man is to be, or a boy is to be. But the truth is that according to the design of God, okay, a woman cannot raise a man, okay? A woman cannot raise a man. Shout out to K. Michelle, because she says that in one of her songs. You can't raise a man, okay? A woman cannot raise a man. His wife cannot raise him. His girlfriend cannot raise him. His sister cannot raise him. His friend cannot raise him. His mother, his grandmother, his aunts cannot raise him. A man can only be raised by a man. And even still, that is still conditional because most men, or a lot of men, have not received the development and the leadership and the life experiences that is required to make them solid men. So we have a lot of broken males raising young boys who eventually perpetuate the cycle of brokenness. And we see that perpetuated in our society every day. Okay. And I was one of those individuals who, as I said before, I give my mom her credit, my grandmother their credit, but they were incomplete. They couldn't provide the fullness of what I needed, not only as a human being, but as a biological male. Okay. So I say that to say, I've been on a journey for about 10 years, okay, a spiritual journey with God, the ultimate Father, for about 10 years. And I was blessed to have the opportunity to do life my way, okay? So in 2016, I had an encounter with God, and God empowered me. That gave me the opportunity to want to choose, right? So in the book of Joshua, after Joshua was chosen by God to continue the journey into the promised lands, right? So after Moses had did his stint and accomplished what he was supposed to accomplish, God had told Moses, listen, Joshua will be the next person who is going to lead his people into the promised lands, right? And so Joshua was chosen even before he was chosen. I hope y'all are listening here. And so when it was time for Joshua to continue his leg of the race, he did so to the best of his ability. There's not really much that the Bible says about Joshua that is dishonorable. You know, Joshua was shown to be a man of honor. He may have had some mistakes, as all of us have as human beings, but ultimately, at the end of the road, I can say that God was well pleased with Joshua. Joshua, at the end of his road, says, you know, he was telling the people, listen, you've seen what we went through. You saw how Moses brought us out. You saw how God chose me to continue to lead y'all. You saw the victory that God gave us. You saw how we were able to conquer these lands. And you saw how God was faithful to us, right? This is what Joshua said, okay? So as he comes to the end of his journey, as we all do in this life, nothing lasts forever. We all have a calling and purpose that we should be considering highly, especially as men, to fulfill and pursue. Part of your identity as a man is to discover what your purpose is and what God created you to do. So towards the end of Joshua's journey, Joshua was telling the people, listen, you've seen what God did for us. You saw how faithful he was to us. And that's what it is. He said, y'all were disobedient. Y'all were rebellious. Y'all did things that y'all weren't supposed to do. But as for me and my house, we are going to serve the Lord. And that was Joshua's covenant based on his personal relationship with God that we have had insight on. I don't believe a lot of the people in Israel at that time, according to the story, really understood the relationship that Joshua had with God, because as they did with Moses, they questioned his leadership, they questioned his authority, they were rebellious, they were combative. And specifically in the case of Moses, when some of the people in the tribes began to rise up against Moses, including his cousin, was it his cousin or his sister and I believe it was like his brother or people in the tribe, I can't recall exactly. God did not like that. And Moses, as meek as he was, he was like, God, please don't punish them. Please forgive them. But sometimes we got to let God do what he's supposed to do because he knows best. He knows these people in your life who on the outside, they look like family, they look like friends, they look like they're for you, but in the inside, they're jealous. On the inside, they have no intentions to get on the program that God has for you. And as a result, they become a Goliath. They become a stumbling block in your life. And you find yourself being stuck in a rut with people who have no intentions to go nowhere but to rot in the wilderness, as many of them did. Okay? Please do not let that be you. Please ask God for the strength to get out of the situations that he is showing you is keeping you back. It's one thing to have the intelligence to discern, okay, this situation is not right for me. It's another to now have the strength and the courage to make the decisions that supports the revelation and the insights that your intelligence is revealing to you. I hope y'all are hearing what I'm saying here. So I say that to say, Joshua said, as for me and my house, we are serving the Lord. And I'm saying, as for me and my house, okay, this house, my temple, the legacy, the plans that God has for me, the will that he has set out for me, his path for me, as for me and my house, we are going to serve the Lord in that capacity. And anything or anyone or any person that is not or does not want to come and align with my program that I've chosen to take full accountability for, because at the end of my days, I'm the one who has to face God and say, God, this is what I did. It ain't going to be mommy. Mommy can't save me. Daddy can't save me. Girlfriend, wife, whoever can't save me. I have to save myself. So with that truth and with that conviction, I can now make decisions that are unapologetic and uncompromising and aligned with my values and who I am at my core. So part of CLG Lifestyle, part of what I'm going to be teaching is single mothers or people or women who are raising males. I'm going to teach you, talk to you, enlighten you, inspire you, encourage you, and be a vessel and an instrument of wisdom so that you can make better decisions, so that you can make experiences for your son or sons or males that you're taking care of who can have a better outcome in life, better than I did, because I didn't have the resource. I didn't have the connections. I didn't have the knowledge, the insights, and the wherewithal to be able to be the man that I am today and the man that I'm becoming because of my decisions to want to be who God created me to be. As I said before, you may be a mother or a woman who's doing the best that you can to raise males, but that is not your jurisdiction. That is not your design. You can cultivate aspects of the male in terms of the feminine side, in terms of the compassionate side, in terms of the side of understanding women and being able to be men who are not soft and weak, but men who understands the nature of women in that they don't see it as a way to abuse and manipulate women, but see it as a way to nurture, encourage, and empower women from a place where these women, whether it's their mothers, their sisters, their wives, or whoever, their employees, right, that they empower these women in a way where these women can recognize that, wow, that is a real man, okay? And leave it at that. It has nothing to do with sex. It has nothing to do with any type of, intimacy on a level of sex or sexuality. It has everything to do with your identity as a man and being the leaders and the kings that God created us to be. So with that being said, I've established a school account. School is a platform that allows people to create a community of followers. And in that community, I will be creating lessons and giving talks like this and conversations. And eventually I'll probably do like products and maybe even seminars and conferences and speaking engagements. Who knows? But ultimately, my desire is strongly to create this platform and to begin to carve out a lane that is truly unique to me and my personal experiences. And that is one of them is the experience of growing up with a single mom as a former mama's boy, right? As someone who lacked male leadership, fatherhood, and the experiences that I believe God designed for the family in terms of a man and a woman raising children, right? I'm going to be, for many, an example of that fatherhood, of that leadership, of that brotherhood, of that example, some will say a righteous example in more ways than one, that you can begin to impart into the lives of your sons, because now you have an outlet. Now you have, you know, a source that you can seek and consider when it comes to making decisions for the males, the young males in your life. With that being said, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned because there will be more content revolved around this conversation. My name is Corwin L. Gilliams. I'm the creator of CLG Lifestyle, and I create content revolved around self-love. Until next time. Good morning.